Do you think it's fair and legal for critically important health and safety information to be withheld, for whatever reasons, from one group so that the aspirations of another group can be advanced or promoted?
Every time you do a procedure, particularly a surgical procedure, or you have a medical intervention as a chemical abortion in particular, you have to talk to your patient about risks and benefits. So it's critically important to a young woman to help her understand that if she undergoes an elective abortion, that she's increased her risk for breast cancer. You need to tell her that. She's increased her risk for preterm delivery. She needs to know that. She's increased her risk for possible mortality and mental health issues. They need to know all of those things, and they need to understand what that means in their life going forward. It's disingenuous to just say this procedure will happen and everything's going to be fine, because that's simply not true. No procedure is like that, and no procedure is without risk.
So if a reasonable patient would want to know about that, the doctor's got a legal obligation to disclose it. Plus, the doctor has to fully, openly and honestly answer any questions that the patient asks. So you can't just pat the patient on the head and say, don't you worry about it, everything will be all right. If you do that, and in actual fact you should have told them something else, then you haven't got an informed consent, and then you're going to be liable, medical malpractice liability, for failing to get an informed consent.
There was no informed consent. There was no freedom of choice because the choices weren't presented to me.
I had more information given to me about my wisdom tooth taken out.
You get more information when you get your appendix removed than you do from having an abortion.
The last area that was litigated was the suicide disclosure. So our lawyers presented information, and the Planned Parenthood presented information, all from the science, and then the judges looked at it all and ruled that yes, there is an increased risk of suicide associated with abortion. So we had very smart, educated judges looking at the information that was derived from the scientific literature and came down on the side of yes, that there are risks to women that they deserve to be told about.
When I was interviewing the experts in this documentary about the courtroom-validated health risks of abortion, I also asked them how these risks were being hidden from the public. But weaving their answers into this documentary remained a low priority. Then I saw the same illicit strategies used to keep the public in the dark about abortion risks being repeated during COVID.
And the pro-choice people have almost complete control of the media and are able to, suppress discussion about it.
It was researchers or professionals with a clear bias.
Some of it has gone to the extent that it's fraudulent.
This was only one study. Coleman's meta was based on 22 studies. But this single study, which is an outlier to what the 22 in composite said, was picked up and promoted in many consumer publications as a full and final denunciation of the emotional health risks of abortion.
It can seem on the surface that you've developed a good study, but there's so many methodologic flaws.
Like pharmaceutical companies do it, I think big tobacco companies, they give money for research, but then they have the researchers write in a clause they will not publish any negative research.
The women in their study that were highest at risk for developing invasive cancers were taken out of the study before they developed the cancer.
And the publishers complained, May 2020, of criminal levels of pressure to publish faulty research. So we can get untainted, objective research to guide us as we select a toaster, but not to make life and death health decisions.
But you can't dismiss stuff that's scientific, and that's what they're doing, and I think that's just bad science.
In the decade since these interviews were filmed, an entirely new media sheriff has arrived in town. According to one concerned analyst, Dr. Robert Epstein, no Mussolini, no Hitler, no dictator anywhere has ever had even a tiny fraction of the power that this company has. Please watch this documentary to learn the way our knowledge is being manipulated by those we trust as purveyors of truth in science and medicine.
So patients will make appropriate decisions for themselves once they know the risks. So it's all about informed consent. It's very politically incorrect to say anything negative about abortion. even if it's medically true. And that creates a lot of injustice to women, because women deserve to know the truth. Women deserve to know how their bodies change during pregnancy and the impact of their choices.